And good morning and welcome to Wednesday morning. It is November the 3rd today. We move along to the subject of non-resistance today based on Matthew 5:38. You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. There are, again, in this section, a number of authors they've chosen to quote from. I'm going to read from two of you today briefly. One is Howard Thurman, and the other is Fyodor Dostoevsky. He just has a paragraph in here. But we'll start with Howard Thurman. No one ever wins a fight. Thoughtfully and with eyes searching the depths of me, my grandmother repeated the words. I was something to behold. One eye was swollen, my jacket was ripped with all the buttons torn from their places, and there was a large tear in the right knee of my trousers. It was a hard and bitter fight. I had stood all I could until at last I threw discretion to the winds and the fight was on. The fact that he was larger and older and had brothers did not matter. For 4 blocks we had fought and through, and there was none to separate us. At last I began to gain in power. With one tremendous effort I got him to the ground, and as the saying went, made him eat dirt. Then I had come home to face my grandmother. No one ever wins a fight, were her only words as she looked at me. But I beat him, I said. Yes, but look at you. You beat him, but you will learn someday that nobody ever wins a fight. Many years have come and gone since that afternoon in early summer. I have seen many fights, big and little. I have lived through 2 world wars. The wisdom of these telling words becomes clearer as the days unfold. There is something seductive about the quickening sense of power that comes when the fight is on. There is a bewitching something people call honor, in behalf of which they often do and become the dishonorable thing. It is all very strange. How often honor is sacrificed in defense of honor. Honor is often a strange mixture of many things: pride, fear, hate, shame, courage, truth, cowardice, many things. The mind takes many curious twistings and turnings as it runs the interference for one's survival. And yet the term survival alone is not quite what is meant. People want to survive, yes, but on their own terms. And this is most often what is meant by honor. No one ever wins a fight. This suggests that there is always some other way, or does it mean that man can always choose the weapons he shall use? Not to fight at all is to choose a weapon by which one fights. Perhaps the authentic moral stature of a man is determined by his choice of weapons, which he uses in his fight against the adversary. Of all weapons, love is the most deadly and devastating, and few there be who dare trust their fate in its hands. Very interesting thoughts from an African-American pastor who's been gone for a number of years now. But surely was the way of Jesus on the cross, was it not? To choose to love rather than to fight. For he has issued these words that we have read here in our opening today from Matthew chapter 5, verse 38. You've heard it was said, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. In other words, get even, man. But I tell you, Do not resist an evil person. In another place he will say, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. No one ever wins, really wins a fight. You may subdue, but do you really win? Here's the words from Dostoevsky. At some thoughts one stands perplexed, especially at the sight of men's sin, and wonders whether one should use force or humble love. Always decide to use humble love. If you resolve on that once and for all, you may subdue the whole world. Loving humility is marvelously strong, the strongest of all things, and there is nothing else like it. Dostoevsky wrote some very interesting books that often encapsulate truths of the gospel. This one is true of the gospel also. For God so loved the world. He didn't come down to beat us up. He didn't cast lightning bolts at us. God so loved the world, he sent his Son as a sacrifice for us. And now we who would be like him must live that same way. We don't live our lives for the purpose of winning a fight. We live our lives using the power of love. And it is hard. Not many of us do it. Read some books over the last few years that have encouraged me along that way, albeit sometimes the flesh is hard to overcome. But God's love can do it. Can do it in me, can do it through me, and the same is true for you this day. We don't win by fighting, we win by loving. Blessings to you today.